shit splat. Stop, let this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. Get your lick back. If a nigga owe you something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop, let this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. I feel like I'm JX. J-Way. I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless. I'm gone. Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that neck. Into the trends. See a lead, be the best.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. I'm here with my co-host, Coach. This is spring training edition. We're about 2 weeks into spring training. How you feeling right now?
Getting a little warmer, and we've got some developments happening as of late. So we're looking to see how those shape up for the boys come opening day.
Absolutely. And, spring training is an interesting time. First and foremost, they don't televise enough games for my liking. It makes it difficult to evaluate. Obviously, you got a lot of guys wearing number 96 that that may never even don an actual Detroit Tigers uniform. And, it's an opportunity for guys to work on some new things. It's tough to figure out what you really want to take away from the games because you see a lot of, the veterans and guys that have established their position. They're kind of just working their way up into the opening until opening day. And it's, a lot more evaluation to be done with, some of the younger guys. But any thoughts or anything that you've seen thus far that you want to that you want to touch on as we open up the show?
Yeah, I've seen some sprinklings of some more general observations, like how you lead playing a little bit of third in some practice. I think in a game maybe briefly did. Torkelson had a home run the other day. I think, was it Jake as well? Homer just also, I think, yesterday in one of the two split squad games. First appearance earlier last week. Trying to think who else. It was Ty Madden. Everyone else had a decently good line for over 2 innings. Maybe Reese Olson, actually. I think he gave up against Toronto, I believe it was. And what he gave up a solo home run to Varsho. And then one other hit, 2 strikeouts in 2 innings. So, a lot of it is kind of, for the most part, good news. Haven't really seen any major pieces or posts about guys completely bombing out or doing this or that or the other to that degree. So far, so good. And I know this week we saw our first appearance.
You're kind of, man, you're kind of lagging a little bit. Say something.
Yo.
Okay, you might be good now. I was lagging for a little bit, but
yeah. Where'd I drop off at?
Just you talking about Reese Olson and Ty Madden and.
Oh yeah. So aside from those couple of pitching outings, I know for the most part they were some good lines. Nothing crazy. And I think the two this week we saw our first appearance since the surgery of Javi Baez. I think it was only one at bat, but sounded like he rolled over a sinker down the third base line. So I know that's a very, 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 very small sample size to take.
No, he actually drew a walk. He drew a walk.
Later. Okay.
Yes, later on in the game. But yes, he's
okay.
First pitch. Okay. Yeah, first pitch. Roll over to the third base. So very very reminiscent of current day Javi Baez. But yeah, I actually witnessed the drawn walk. So for what it's worth, not much, but yeah, so much for the most part. We've got a pretty decent look at Hayuli, Lorenzo, some of our younger guys that will be hopefully seeing in the future. Lorenzo, I think he drew like 3 walks in the one game, one where Scott Harris was actually up in the booth interviewing. And so, of course, he was all about the drawing the walks and stuff like that. But yeah, he seems to have a really good eye at the plate. I would love to see him, attack and get some more hits, but that'll come with time as he sees more major league pitching. But outside of that, the guys that we're going to be leaning on this year, Green has looked really good at the plate in limited at bats. Carpenter as well. As you mentioned, Torkelson hit a home run. Rogers hit a home run, and Dylan Dingler also hit a home run. I think he's got a 5 RBIs already. So encouraging.
Okay,
on
my
that.
boy Danny.
Who? Oh, Dingler. Yeah.
Boy Dingler.
Yeah, Dingler. Yeah. So so we'll see. We'll see as things continue. But there's also obscure guys like Ben Malgeri, who's hitting like 600. He's got a home run and 7 RBIs. Who played in Double-A Erie all last year. And then Tomas Nito, the catcher, who's going to be starting out in Triple-A. He's having a pretty solid start to the year as well. So, tough to really evaluate or take much from it. I also, in addition to that, I like what we've seen from Jace Young. He's made a couple diving stabs to either side and been able to, complete the play with throws to first base as well. And he also, his first 2 at-bats, had 2 hard-hit doubles to start his year, one of which nearly went out of the park. So good to see him fully recover from the, his right wrist injury that he had the second half of the year. He had surgery at the during the winter time, and he said it's made a major difference. He felt a difference just 2 weeks after post-op where he resumed swinging. So a lot of different players. Tough to make out what we're what to pull from that. But what are your concerns going this early into the season, and any concerns that you can see?
Well, I think, there's some we'll be talking about a little bit more in depth here that I will tease in general without even bringing up the general subject, just because, that's what a teaser is. That may play a factor in some of their immediate game one personnel positions and starting at least maybe the first series. However much beyond that, I don't know. But it's going to be about longevity, and if these guys can get off to a better start than they did last year, they start. Don't get me wrong, they started hot last year, but granted, we played 6 out of the first 9, 12 games against the White Sox. Then we kind of came down to earth for the next 2.5 months pretty quickly. So it's not necessarily how you start, it's how you finish. But if you do start so bad as we've seen in the few years prior, it doesn't matter how you finish. If you start bad enough, you can't dig yourself out. So just look for them to get it a more consistent start. If they're around 500 for the first 60, 80 days, I think that's easily better than where they were at, at that point last year. So, the guys had the rust now. They had a couple weeks into the postseason. They've had a taste of it. So it's about, how their mentality and attitude are in spring training right now. And from what limited I've seen online through social media, the guys seem to be loose or having fun. So I think they're taking a similar approach to it as they did last year so far. So it'll just be the makeup of the guys they signed in addition to kind of help round out the club this year and see what that refurbished identity looks like this year.
Yep. And just to close out on the topic of concerns, and of course we're going to elaborate on it probably in the next segment, but we're getting thinner and thinner in the outfield. A part of our organization that I feel like is a strength and has been deep over the last couple years, is really being put to test with some of the injuries that we have going on. But we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna open up after that, discussing what some of those injuries are. All right, take it away with the injury report.
Yep. So yesterday we heard the word, either yesterday morning or the 2 evenings beforehand, about Matt Vierling and his shoulder. He will suffer the injury earlier last week, this current week. Sorry. So he will not be ready for opening day. So that's kind of put a question mark into him to start. They didn't really give much of an update, just other than the fact it was a shoulder injury. Nothing more specific than that. So we don't know which shoulder it is, actually, to my knowledge, whether it's his throwing shoulder or what he's been limited in terms of, his pain tolerance. So TBD on him as more information becomes available, but he will be out for opening day at least. And then as of this morning, just prior to getting on, I think an even more impactful injury that kind of came, I guess, pun intended, out of left field, even though he plays center. Parker Meadows has an upper arm nerve issue that is, quote, not firing, unquote, from AJ Hinch's statement that he made about addressing the injury. And although he has not been ruled out for opening day, they have basically shut him down. I think the term they used was he's no longer doing or partaking in any baseball activities, but, in essence, he's shut down. He's not doing anything until they get that situation sorted out. And I would imagine that's something with nerve. They got to do a little bit of rehab of some sort, get him out in the cage, get him out doing some defensive drills, just to make sure that his normal day-to-day baseball stuff starts to jive with whatever was going on. So while again, he has not been ruled out, I would not be surprised unless something, crazy happens here in the next 2 weeks, where then he's got a couple weeks to get ready. But there is some now doubt of his availability to start opening day.
All right. And yeah, we already have, he's not on the 40-man, but we already have Akil Baddoo, who is out for the foreseeable future as well. Who was he was a guy that was, definitely not in the talks of the opening day roster, but he was up and down with the team pretty much all year as well. But yeah, this is definitely going to cause a trickle down effect to some of the other players that were maybe on the bubble. A guy like Wenceel Perez, possibly even a Justin Henry Malloy, although he doesn't give you very much defensively. I mean, he is somebody that is capable of playing in the corner, which is where Matt Vierling, plays a decent amount. Obviously, Meadows is your everyday center fielder, so we're gonna have to find somebody to play that role. But I think guys like Zach McKinstry, I think that secures his position, just because he can play third like a Vierling. He can play corner outfield as well. A sleeper that might get some more looks due to Vierling being injured is Kreidler, who has actually played all over the outfield, not as much as in the infield, but he is capable of playing center field and in the corner as well. Obviously, Ibanez is capable of playing the corner infield or corner outfield as well as third base. So, yeah, it's kind of tough to say. Like I said, Wenceel Perez plays all over the outfield. So I feel like you gotta have a guy like him out there, because what you don't want, I think, is Riley Green playing too much center field right now. he seems to be in good shape. He said he's cutting out the Chick-fil-A, and his bat definitely seems ready for opening day, as well as Mr. Carpenter as well, who's already hit a home run in, I think, just his first action. And that, I think this picture right here is I think from the home run that he had this week. So but yeah, it's definitely gonna open things up for some of those guys that are versatile and can play all over the place. I mean, you gotta have. I mean, the opening day third baseman. Luckily, Jace Young has looked good because don't have many options as far as every day is concerned. So, I think guys like Trey Sweeney are still going to be on the bubble because I think that they were kind of competing with a guy like McKinstry, but got to give the edge to McKinstry now that he's a guy that can play third base, he can play the corner outfield, he can play essentially everywhere, and we don't have that Vierling who's kind of a super utility. We don't have his versatility right now. So you got to hold on to guys like him to be available every day. But any other thoughts as far as who's on the bubble and how the outfield will shake out now that Vierling and Meadows are out for the foreseeable future?
No, yeah. I mean, to just recap what you said, I agree pretty much everything that you're putting out there. They've got some guys that have been over the last year or so have been trying to add another position to their repertoire defensively. So that does, as long as that transition or addition goes well for the most part and ends up being a benefit to them. So we'll see. They're going to get different looks. I think that's pretty much what their goal was, over a little over a week ago, kind of at least a couple games into the spring training slate, was to, all right, let's put these guys in these spots in the field that they have maybe just been practicing for the last, month or two at most, maybe a little bit in the off season on their own time, and see what it looks like in game and spring. Of course, there's only so much we can take away from that because of the fact that a lot of these games are not being played with your best starting 9 and starting pitcher of your 26-man roster. You got a lot of minor league guys, prospects mixed around, split squad games where you actually have, a decent mix of both. But, it's going to be interesting. You said McKinstry. And I think in an emergency situation, I think Wenceel does start center field just because he has that speed compared to the other guys you mentioned that just simply don't, especially Riley Green. No offense to him. It's not, but he's meant for a corner outfield. That's why he's got a, above average arm. And, if push come to shove, McKinstry could play a little center too. He's smaller, but he's still got some of that speed to help cover some of that spacious ground in Comerica Park outfield. But, Malloy, I'd like to see get some more ABs or even just him DH. You can put Carey in, right? I think that's still fine. Carey hasn't really shown that he's an inept defender to a degree. He might be average in the action we've seen him in the outfield, but he hasn't been a hindrance. So I'm fine with that. And, like you said, there's going to be other guys like Jace Young. I think Sweeney was going to make it no matter what, just because of the uncertainty of Baez. I think more so now the other guys like Young that we're probably looking at only getting to start every third, fourth day, something like that, now look like they're in a position to capitalize on some early season injuries and to see some more time. So I think in a way, as long as the injuries that we do know about are not, ongoing, re-aggravating month over month, or, they continue to haunt these guys, I think this will be a fairly good thing for the club as a whole. But there was 2 other notes in terms of the injury front, Wilmer Flores, they just announced this 2 days ago, but it happened in January. He received a blood platelet enriched injection to help with the recovery process of his injury from last year. My experience, not personally, but dealing with it with some other athletes in college who did receive that, it's usually a sign that the recovery process is not happening the way that they've anticipated. So that kind of an injection is to help the recovery process of the, impacted area directly. And other than that, Alex Cobb earlier in the week did receive an epidural injection to help with his pain and recovery process that he suffered. I think when we broke on the last show a couple weeks ago, or even 4 weeks ago, with his injury.
All right, and as Scott Harris said earlier, spring training is definitely an opportunity for players to kind of the terminology used is give a stress test. So basically, giving them an opportunity to utilize some of these different skill sets that may or may not be ready to be utilized in the regular season. But I believe that we are going to see a little bit of that today. I'm going to pull up the actually, we got a comment. Let's see what we got here. We got Ben Maljury, MSU Detroit fan. Ben Maljury is a surprise so far. Absolutely. I actually got some clarification about how to, when we're allowed to utilize or bring people up into the 40-man roster. And I guess that can only be utilized if it's a 60-day injured list. We can expand the 40-man roster. Because in my head, I was thinking that he's a candidate for somebody that could be added to the 40-man roster since he's been playing so well in center field and hitting. But the only way that we would be able to add him on is if Parker or Vierling went to the 60-day, which we hope is not the case. So we don't have a lot of options as far as everyday outfielders is concerned in the 40-man. But Ryan Kryler, like I said, is currently on the 40-man roster. So he's certainly a candidate for somebody that could be he's within that 40-man roster that can be utilized in the outfield. He says, have we got any updates on Parker? Yeah, we just kind of touched on that. He's having some nerve issues in his arm, and they're not currently firing. So he's been shut down until anything is going on. He said, wait, Vierling is injured. Yes, Vierling, they have announced, is not going to be ready for opening day. So, So when I was earlier, we kind of touched on the outfield situation and how our depth is being put to the test. And yes, that is due to Matt Vierling and Parker Meadows currently not being active. I'm going to post part of the not the opening day, the lineup today. A portion of it is kind of cut off, but I can kind of touch on everything that needs to be talked about here. So we have Gleyber Torres starting at second base today. He looked pretty good defensively. He made a nice sliding stab to his left and got a force out at second base earlier this week. So he's looked pretty solid. I didn't get a chance to talk about Cole Keith. He's dug out a couple. He's been scooping at first, and he's looked pretty, fairly natural out there. So that's good to see. MSU Detroit fan, well, it seems that we got our answer for third base with Jace Young. Yep, it's going to have to be because it will not be Vierling. Well, it seems we got our doubled up there. Matt that's coach. Yep, he has a shoulder injury.
Yeah,
and ruled off for opening day. Yep. So,
skip the next one.
Yeah. I got it now. So yeah, we have the lineup for today. Whoops. All right, I'm struggling here. Here we go. So we have the lineup for today. We got Gleyber Torres playing second. We got Riley Green out on the left. Wenciel Perez playing center. So that's one of the stress tests that we're going to be going through to see if he can play center field since Vierling is out. At batting fourth, we have Cole Keith at first. Javi DHing today at 5. Jake Rogers is in center, and then we have Zach McKinstry playing right field. So that's once again, he's definitely going to get some looks in the outfield with Meadows and Vierling being out. We got Hyu Lee at third base. He's got a lot of a decent amount of at bats this spring, so we're going to get some more looks at him. I think he's got a couple hits, but hasn't looked great at the plate. Kreidler at shortstop, obviously with Javi playing, being a DH right now. He hasn't played the field, but he's fully back, swinging the bat. And then we got Casey Mize making his second outing of the spring. Now, we haven't talked about the pitching yet, but Kenta Maeda has looked solid. He had a seamless outing in his first starting appearance where he I think struck out 4 hitters, and his velocity is up back into the low 90s, although he was in the high 80s for most of last year. But Casey Mize had a pretty good start to the year as well. So we'll see how he fares today. Aaron Nola will be starting for Philly. And this will be another look for Casey Mize. Obviously, he had a good first appearance, but we want to see him duplicate that performance. Let's see what MC Detroit fan. He says Perez in center. That's going to be interesting. I would have moved Riley back. And put Perez in right field. Yeah, we kind of talked about that earlier too. I think that we want to try to keep Riley Green healthy and not put too much on him. I think that Riley is the better center fielder, but I think for the durability and long run, I think he's going to be a better option in the corner. See if Malloy can play left field. Yeah.
In spurts, yeah. I feel like it's fine, but long term, he's that injury he had with his arm impacting his ability to throw. He's not as fast either. Granted, with Carey in the other corner, they're probably right around the same, I feel like, in terms of range and speed, but that's kind of where them being average when you have a Parker in center who is lightning fast and covers more ground than anyone as a starting center fielder kind of helps offset when you got guys like Carey and Green. And honestly, the fact that in the days when you have Vierling in left field with Parker, doesn't matter who you put in right, because those two guys are going to cover a little more than the 2/3 that they're originally given. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and like you said, I think Malloy and Carpenter's mobility is about the same, but Carey's got a cannon out there, and I think that's what kind of gives him the edge as far as defensively in the corner. MC Detroit fan, I want Carey to be the main DH, but if we have to throw him back in the outfield, that'll be fine. Yeah, I think he's gotten better, and him being able to play the corner outfield opens up at bats for like Malloy and Torque. But yeah, now
honestly, playing more defensive innings in the outfield, it's only going to benefit him long term.
His value.
I mean, and also the fact that his physical stature, you turn guys into full-time DHs, they're big, they're not that muscular.
You're saying that that's the effect of playing DH is that you get out of shape, you're saying?
Oh, you don't have to run the field ever.
Right.
They get pinch ran for in late situations in game because they're not playing defensively. So you're going to put a faster runner if he gets on in a tie game, or a lead changing situation if he gets on. You look at Big Papi and Jim Thome and Travis Hafner and you go on and on with these DHs, and but I like you said, he's got an arm. Why waste it in the situation that's developing now in the last few days with the injuries? They need him a bit more than they had beforehand in the outfield to help stabilized at right field. So, yeah, we know what his bat can do, but let's see him a bit more in right field.
Yeah, he's a young guy. We got plenty of time for him to get fat and old and just hit home runs for us. Get him out there. But yeah, with Vierling and Meadows out, it's more of a pressing concern for him to get out in the field, because we just don't. You don't want to waste you don't want to waste those bats on McKinstry, because you're like, well, he's a good corner outfielder. Let's just put him out there. Like, no. All right, let's see what MSU. Both Mize and Maeda have a good spring training. You think the Tigers might go 6-man for starting pitching? Maybe in the long run, but Alex Cobb is out. So right now you got Skubal. Oh yeah, breaking news. He'll be the opening day starter. AJ Hinch broke that news while he was pitching the earlier this week. But yeah, so he'll be the opening day starter. But anyways, yeah, so Alex Cobb is out right now. So right now you got Skubal, you got Flaherty, you got Olson, and then you got Maeda and Mize right now. Unless Montero makes it, puts his bid in to be a opening day starter. But other than that, I think Mize and Maeda round out the rotation with Alex Cobb currently being out for however long. But what's your take on that, Coach?
Well, I mean, Maya's already had one shit start and one outing so far. So
you said Maeda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, 3 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 Ks. 5 Ks was nice to see. He's didn't have much of that last year, but
yeah.
5 hits and 3 earned and 3 innings is kind of on par with what he was last year. A run an inning allowed kind of guy, if not more at some points in time too. So he's got to be better. That I'm sorry, but that's not good enough for what we paid him to be coming out of Minnesota, and he's not been anywhere close to that. So, in my opinion, as long as you got Montero there at 4 from MSU Detroit fan. Yeah. But I mean, let's be real. That 5th spot you could go to in quote unquote opener, because as far as I'm aware, they did not approve that rule for starting pitching minimums that had been hot all winter that the owners have been discussing. So if that's the case, I don't trust Maeda, and I certainly don't trust Manning either. And he got bombed in his only other outing in spring training.
I think he got bombed in 2 separate outings, if I'm not mistaken. I think he pitched again. So
I think those 2 guys I don't trust. I just don't. Manning not breaking camp with this team. Probably done with opportunities, and then Maeda, it's right back to the long relief dungeon for him.
I'm not convinced on that part of it, but yeah, I am encouraged by the strikeout numbers. I'm encouraged by the velocity kicking back up, although I feel like in the beginning, I feel like you see a lot of guys ramping up and throwing harder. So I don't know if that's sustainable or if that's just you putting your best foot forward because you're fresh. You're fresh.
He's been fresh since last August because he didn't pitch much after the All-Star break. So he's been fresh.
Right. So we'll continue to see how that's going. Yeah, he's 1 for 2 as far as good outings. So, but yeah, I'm not convinced that Montero is your number 4. I think I want Montero as the number 5. Like, I'm really pulling for Mize. Mize has all the makings of what can be. He's trying out what is he? I think he's got a new pitch. I think it's a splitter. He's trying out a splitter, which is he throws pretty hard, but Dylan Dingler was kind of raving about it, that it's because he throws that 90 miles an hour, so there's not a lot of disparity between the fastball, which kind of tops out around 96, but he's got 3 different shapes on his slider. He's got good extension, which is gonna get that fastball there a little sooner. So he's really got all the makings of a pitcher that can get some swings and misses. So I'll be listening really closely on the radio today as he starts today, because I still have a little bit of belief that he can get back. This is only his second full season removed from the back injury, the back surgery and the elbow surgery. So I would love to see him just snatch up that number 4. But you're a big Montero guy, and hey, I'm all for it. Since you're just not on the Maeda train yet, which I respect. I respect that.
I want to say let me clarify. I'm not saying Montero has earned a permanent spot. I'm just saying now that we have some fluctuation, some fluidity here, with Maeda struggling, Manning struggling, guys that were in the mix or in the consideration, generously put. And obviously, MSU Detroit fan mentioned Job, and we've talked about in the last show. I really don't see Job getting it unless a couple other things happen to create more opportunity, which hopefully is not the case.
Job, I forgot about we forgot about Job. What happened?
Yeah, but look, I think we've generally agreed that his best opportunity to continue to develop would be going down to Toledo to start, probably being their day one starter on that rotation and getting consistent innings, consistent outings versus, some spot innings here and there or spot start with the parent club, considering his rather quick ascent in the last 18 months. I think it'll be the best for him. But no, I think you're right with Mize and Montero. I think those are probably your leading options for the back end of the 4 and 5 right now. If guys like Cobb and those guys are not ready to go for that first full 5-game stretch to start the season.
Yep. And MSU Detroit fans, I cut my losses with Manning after Montero outperformed him last year. Yeah. Manning's another guy that, he's 6'5", he's got good extension, he's got good velocity on his fastball, but he just can't keep it in his command. He just can't keep it in the end zone. He can't keep pitches in the strike zone. He kind of downplayed, the 4 walk effort he had in his first outing, saying that, he's always been a guy that's known to have been around the strike zone, so he doesn't really worry about it. But I'm worried. Right now, I'll have Montero before and after the first month. You can change up the starters, like when Flaherty became the number 2 over Maeda last year. Wow, can you believe Maeda was in the number 2 slot? That's spooky.
What we paid him for, yeah.
Right, yeah. MSU Detroit, I would rather have Joe be a starting pitcher in Toledo than bullpen guy in Detroit. Yeah. I don't think you want to see him, especially. He's still got some things to work on. He's got a brand new pitch that he's incorporating, and for a guy that can throw upwards of 99 to 100, he doesn't. The swing and miss stuff just hasn't connected yet. So. Still some things to work on, but I don't think he's completely out of the discussions for opening day, the 23-man roster. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, and let me just throw this at you. Where is Lorenzo going to start AAA?
No, I think he's probably
gonna be starting AA Erie.
Yeah, I don't think he's touched Erie, or no, did he start in Erie? I think he was playing with Clark and McGonigal in single A, if I'm not mistaken. He's only like 20.
After they got promoted from low to high A. I'm assuming, with McGonigal and
Clark. because Lorenzo didn't get over to us until the trade deadline. So by that point,
right? Yeah,
Max and them were already there. But
I was just thinking out loud about, like, if Job goes to Toledo, Lorenzo. I think if you're looking at the future battery combination, I think that would be an ideal start. Now, would it be too much for Lorenzo to handle right off the bat?
Yeah, I don't think his catching. I think hitting wise, he's probably ready for AAA, but defensively, I don't think defensively they're gonna. I think what's his name, Nito is gonna be your everyday catcher.
That's right.
In AAA.
Yeah, they just signed him 2 weeks ago, roughly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, although, he had a great Arizona Fall League, Lorenzo did, and I was kind of surprised to see him get the spring training nod. But yeah, MSU Detroit fan. Lorenzo only played in High A last year with both Great Lakes and West Michigan. Yeah, so no way he jumps to AAA. It's just there's no reason to speed up his progression, but I think it'll be valuable for him to have got spring training at bats.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they kind of I think they moved him along pretty fast, but that Arizona Fall League is what kind of pushed him ahead. Lorenzo, yeah.
You got one more.
MSU Detroit, he should be starting in Erie and should finish in Toledo. Yeah, I agree. Let's get into the next break, and then we're gonna talk. We got some familiar faces coming back to Detroit, so we're gonna talk about that. Extremely long pause. All right. Let's talk free agency. We got Scott Harris done it again. He has fleeced another team for some up and coming prospects. But we got Mr. Chafin coming back to town. Are there any other free agencies that I missed outside of that Chafin?
No, that's pretty much been the only one as of recently. It's a minor league contract with a non-roster spring training invite. So I imagine he probably got with them about a day or so after he signed this past week. And former Tiger Shelby Miller signed a minor league deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I did peep that. I think I might have actually, I may or may not have sent that to you, but
oh, you definitely did.
Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, I said Tigers legend. I was wondering if somebody was going to pick him up, but yeah, when I look at Mr. Chafin's Savant page, I mean, for this guy to be a minor league signing, I mean, he's in the 97th percentile of chase and whiff rate, and 85th percentile of K rate. I mean, that is a solid. I mean, he's got a pretty red Savant page for a guy that's getting on a minor league contract. I think this is his third stint with Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. So he just can't escape us.
Correct.
The two glaring areas where he doesn't do very well is his walk rate is in the 4 percentile. So while he gets a lot of chases and a lot of strikeouts, he's kind of all over the place as far as his control. And he's got he's in the 18th percentile as far as ground ball rate. So when they are hitting the ball, it's in the air. So I think it's good depth. I think, he's not going to make the team out of camp because you got guys like we got Holton as far as lefties are concerned. I think is Herder left-handed? I always get Gunther and Herder mixed up, but
Gunther.
Yeah, Gunther.
But Herder, yeah, they both are.
They're both left-handed. Okay, yeah. So definitely got some guys ahead of him, but that's great depth to have. You can never have enough guys that have good swing and miss stuff in the back end of your bullpen. So I think there's an outside chance that we get a chance to see Mr. Chafin this year. Let's see what MSU Detroit fan says. Clark, McGonigal, and Lorenzo should all be in Erie to start the minor league. Yeah, that's going to be a nasty lineup. Our Erie teams fare pretty well. I think we've won the championship the last couple of years, and
remember the ended last year in that controversy with the opposing catcher giving away the pitches to the batters because he wanted to end the season. Yeah.
Jeez, what did he have going on? A lot of minor league contract guys. Yeah. But guys that are certainly capable of playing at the major league level. So always good to have a deep minor league team.
Because the only other lefties they have right now on the roster actively are the signing of John Braba, who was with the Twins previously, but he's getting up there. He's 34, and then Brian Sammons, who I think technically they quote unquote released and then signed I don't know if it was an arbitration deal or whatnot. But Salmons, those are the other two lefties that they have actively on the roster.
Yep. And Braba actually gave up a home run while Scott Harris is up there. Not the best look for when the boss is on the mic. He tried to shoot him some bail, and he's like, "Oh, well, I know he's trying out a new pitch, so maybe, but that wasn't the pitch he was trying out that they gave up the home run on. So that was a little awkward, but yeah. Well, welcome to the Tigers. But yeah, so let's see what we got here. Chris Federer affects Andrew Chafin and Jack Flaherty. Yeah, and a multitude of other guys for sure. I'm glad that we were able to bring him back. He's like Ben Johnson. You just know that eventually somebody's going to try to scoop him up, but hopefully he doesn't stab us in the back in the way that Ben Johnson has. Just kick. Anyways. So as I said, we play today at 1:00. That's a home game at Joker Marchant Stadium at 1:00 against the Phillies. That'll be on 97.1 in about an hour, actually. But any other remarks? Any other things that we should be? Any other things that you are gonna kind of pay attention to as we progress and move deeper into spring training?
Yeah, I mean, it's we've gotten some injuries now. I know the Cobb news a month ago, I don't think was necessarily, we thought maybe impactful because we just didn't know what we were going to get out of him after his short scope last year after he returned. But then
though we paid him $15 million, but hey, neither is
yeah. And then they ended up getting Flaherty like 2 weeks later after that was all said and done. So I think that it doesn't even itself out. I think it's more of a benefit. I'm taking Flaherty over even Cobb a few years ago when he was borderline all-star. And then I think, and we mentioned last time, the health of Baez and Flaherty are things to keep on the radar. Briefly, the last show I went in depth, so I'm just going to briefly recap it. Flaherty was passed on by every other team in the offseason, pretty much. There was some ongoing concerns about his arm or shoulder in the postseason. The Yankees rejected the trade first, pending the physical that he ended up failing before we send him to the Dodgers. So I think that's something and keep an eye on. Considering the other rash of injuries they've now suddenly been building up. And whether or not, Baez and Maeda can bounce back. I mean, it seems kind of trivial at this point that, they didn't really do much of anything last year. What do they really need to do to contribute, considering all the other guys contributed last year to the run, and they did it without them, frankly, or in spite of them and their shortcomings. But I think as some of these other guys go down around him, I think it's going to be important for them to at least be marginally serviceable and not a detriment going forward. So, as much as we have hounded these two guys and some others, but rightfully these two guys mostly, I do think with, the situation they're in going into game one, series one, that their trajectory to recovery and being 100% is going to be more beneficial in the long run for the team. Otherwise, they're going to have to make some decisions. I don't understand how you can keep juggling these two contracts. One, the fact that Maeda is on his final year, you can eat it and be done, and it'll come off the books, and look at other options. But just getting off to a decent start. A lot of the same faces. You will see how Gleiber fits in. I really don't think we've seen too much of him this spring.
He plays today, though, but yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really heard much about him out there on the socials. So we'll see. It's been more so the updates of some of the, and I get it. A lot of us are excited about the younger guys and Max Clark and McConaughey and, to our viewers and listeners, Foster does a great, phenomenal job tracking the minor league system and updating those stats and watching clips. So I get why the buzz keeps generating around, but I want to be able to focus on the guys that we got now that are contributing now and will be a part of the future going forward. So we got the core. We have the core. I don't think there's any doubt in our minds, not just Foster and I, but us as collectively as Detroit Tiger fans. We saw what Baltimore had been building, and I noted last year, I see a lot of them in us, but younger. And obviously it's nice to be on the younger age of that spectrum when you're trying to build, a perennial contender. So we're excited. The division is obtainable, and there's a buzz. There's a buzz going around that's carrying over from last year for sure. And it's, a matter of these guys just getting off to a good start.
Yeah, I'll definitely be paying attention. Like you said, we haven't seen much of Gleyber Torres. He plays today, so I want to continue to see how he defends and if his back can wake up a little bit. Wenceel Perez has kind of had a slow start hitting wise as well. So now he'll be playing some more in center field. So I'm interested now that because he was on the cusp he was on the cusp of making the opening day roster. So now he'll get an opportunity to kind of snag that center fielder role and be able to hit every day. So I just want to see kind of now that we have a trickle down effect of some of these outfielders being hurt, how the other replacement players can step up and play. Zach McKinstry plays right field today. How does he play? We got Hyu Lee playing third today, and I think this may be his first time because he played second. I want to say he's played some second as well, but obviously this is an opportunity for him to snag. If he plays well defensively and hits well, this is an opportunity for him to campaign to get some early playing time in the season. So we will see. MSU Detroit fan, gotta prove ourselves again. Many people outside Detroit not convinced Tigers can keep the momentum going and we'll come back to earth. Yeah, I see a lot of projections of us anywhere from third to even fourth in the Central, which is kind of crazy in our minds. But I don't think, where did we finish in the division? Obviously, we made the wild card, but second. Okay, so second, like we did the year before that. So, once again, there's a chip on our shoulder and we got to prove ourselves. But we'll be back next week talking more about the spring training. Please subscribe to Bleachers and Speakers on YouTube. That's an opportunity for you to watch the game, watch the show raw and uncut, and be a participant like our friend of the show, MSU Detroit fan, has been throughout the show today. And in addition to that, we are also on Corner to Copa on all audio aggregators. You can just Google Corner to Copa and it will come up for Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts as well. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Any closing words, Coach?
Yeah, just follow us on socials. We're on an Instagram and an X, formerly Twitter, for some live reaction stuff, as some of you may have seen during the postseason run last year. And, feel free to engage and interact and just be a part of what this club has got going on.
Absolutely. Subscribe. We're out of here.